Okay, so before I start this video, I'm going to actually put this thing down here so you get a little brighter look at me. Uh, just keep in mind that when I made this video, I was extraordinarily tired. I was in North Carolina. We were still in the straw job, and I had posted a photograph of a very interesting gravestone, grave marker. It was a family plot. There is only one stone in it, but there are multiple dead people there. It's very old. I mean, it's very old. Our country was very young. The people that were buried there lived through the Revolution. Lived through the Revolution, and they watched our country form, and it just was really an unbelievable sight. Maybe it stems back. When you go to a grave site, most people are like, "Oh, there's just dead people here, and these are the markers." But they just don't really give a damn about their lives and what they did, and who cared for them, and whether they were wealthy or whether they were poor. But when I go through a cemetery or a graveyard, which there is a difference between a cemetery and a graveyard, most people don't know it. A cemetery is a graveyard that is accompanied by a church. A graveyard is just a graveyard. It's a place where dead people are. There's no church. It could be a family graveyard or a burial plot. But this would be considered a burial plot for the family, a family burial plot. Now, for the northerners like myself, this is a very strange thing to witness. We don't have those small family grave plots here like you do down in the South or North Carolina. They just don't do it. We do. We actually have a place where my sister Wendy and now her husband Craig will be laid to rest. Craig is going to be laid to rest here shortly. He died back in December. Thanks to the Hunter and Murder Center, he was killed. So again, here's this grave site that someone obviously spent a lot of money on, especially for the time, and I found it to be rather sad. And you'll see the video, and then you can, maybe feel a little bit of what I felt as I was there. Maybe not. Maybe you just don't care. But it goes back to when I was a kid, and I was with my Aunt Ella and my Uncle Irv. I would go and spend a week with them in the summertime, here and there. Maybe a couple times in the summer, I would spend 3 days to a week. And my Aunt Ellen and Uncle Irv took care of the local Tinicum Cemetery up here, where my grandfather's buried, where my Uncle Paul's buried, and my other various great-grandparents and uncles and aunts are all laid to rest there. So we would go and we would take care of this, and I would wander around if I wasn't doing anything that I was supposed to be doing, like pushing old dead flowers and stuff to the dump site, because that was our job. We would walk that cemetery, and we would clean up all the old wilted and decaying flowers and stuff so that the cemetery looked nice. And I read a lot of stones, and I saw a lot of stories, and I think I even featured a story of a gravestone, and I may be able to find that photograph here on my computer. I don't know, but I'll have to look. There was a photograph of one, and it told a story of a young man, and those things stick in my head because this is what I was raised looking after, was a cemetery. And even though they're gone, there's a story to be told for every single one of those people. And even my grandfather's stone, and I'm going to get choked up here, but it says at the bottom, "Walk softly, I'm sleeping." And I don't know, I think there's a lack of respect for the dead and their lives, and even while they're alive, they just kind of get forgotten by the younger generations. It's like their value and their importance is forgotten before they're gone. Both my grandmothers are 94 years old. My grandmother, Grace, at the home farm there is not doing too well. But I go and I see her. I go and I see her every day because she will be gone. So while they're alive, people in the United States will just throw them into a nursing home and visit them once a week for the first week or two that they're in there, and then they stop. Like, a week turns to 2 weeks turns to a month, and then the old people's heart breaks because they have no visitors, and then they die alone. And I've witnessed this. Teresa's witnessed it. She used to work in a nursing home. It's a very sad place to be. You know, old people that just watch the door waiting for their family member to come in and see them. When they reach the mortality years of their life, and that's what my uncle Roy used to call it, the mortality years. You've reached your mortality years. That's when they need you the most. They really do. And if you're not there, it will end their life quite quickly. They just need you to be there. So this video that I did when I was in North Carolina, you can feel the love and the sorrow 200 years later. 200 years later. 201 years later, 204 years later. You read it, at least I did. And, I hope if anybody's watching this that has a family member that's in a nursing home, it is Saturday. Go visit them. Because, tomorrow they may not be here. And the thing that I've witnessed the most is the one that visits the least is the one that cries the loudest at the funeral, and the one that wants the most when the will is read. And it's just really an amazing thing to see that. But I've seen it, and it's really sad because, if you're there every day and you're taking care of this person, like my aunt takes care of my grandmother, it's going to be really hard when she's gone for everyone. So, I guess the moral of this is go visit your family. I've lost a lot in recent years, and maybe I haven't dealt with it quite the way I should have. But I hope you enjoy the rest of this. And just remember, I was really tired. We had been running 20-hour days for weeks. And there's a lot of wind, and it's really weird. But I still found time to do this. So, God, I got to cut this out. This is an old grave site. I wanted to kind of showcase it because I really think it's cool. I think it's cool because of the ornate ironwork that's here. If you see the birds and the flowers and stuff, and this is obviously looks like a willow, and there's even lambs and stuff down in here. This is really neat. This is the gate to go into this gravesite. Now, I saw it yesterday and I walked up to it, and the corner pieces, they're just amazing to me. So you'll know in a minute how old this really is, and it's just really neat. Now, I'm not going through the gate because I'm just not going to. This is wrought iron. It was threaded on there somehow. I mean, it was actually cast iron, not wrought. Now there's pieces of this thing that got broke off. That goes on the top there, and it's been just knocked off and it's laying there. There is one grave in here, no more than one grave. I thought it was really kind of cool because, this is interesting. So there's like copper in there, and I'm surprised somebody hasn't stolen the copper out of it. But this piece goes on top, and then these pieces are supposed to go up there. And if you look at it, this is the name of it, daughter of Joseph and Nancy Jordan. died January 24th, 1818, aged 10 years and 7 months. Now, I don't know much about this. Joseph Jordan died May 9th, 1816, aged, so this is a family grave site. Obviously, there's more to it than that. Aged 60 years. So Joseph Jordan, he died in 1816, 60 years. Nancy, wife of Joseph Jordan, died October 28th, 1829, age 42. So you look at the age gap between Joseph and his wife Nancy, and their daughter died in 1818. Joseph died in 1816, so he was dead 2 years before the young lady died. And of course, the little girl died. And of course, now, wife of Joseph, Nancy, she died in 29, only 11 years after the little girl had died. That's kind of a sad story. I mean, it really is. So I can imagine that I don't see any writing on that thing. And there's nothing else here. But could you imagine that this is tragic? I mean, it's really tragic. The father dies first. And then, of course, the baby dies, the little girl, 10 years old. And then mom dies 11 years later. She must have been heartbroken to lose her husband and then their daughter a short time afterwards. But the amount of money, I imagine, in, let's say, 1816 to build this here, to make this wrought iron, and it looks like it's amazing. Or this cast iron, these cast iron pieces for this gravesite for just 3 people. And the house is over there. I don't know if that's the original house. It's a brick house. It just amazes me that the amount of money that was spent for a gravesite that is 203 years old? 16, 17, 18, 19, 203 years old. 203 years old. You know, our country was founded in 1776. I'm not 100% sure about the total history of it, but 1776, and then you have the 1789, I think, was when the states, they became statehood and things. You know, there was just a lot of stuff that happened in those few short years, because it was a 7-year war, if I remember my history somewhat correctly. So the revolution started in 1776. In April 1776, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Declaration of Independence. And then it went on for, I think, 7 years. I'm sure the revolution was 7 years long. But anyway, with that being said, it wasn't really that much after the revolution that those people died. And the revolution was obviously going on when Joseph Jordan was alive, because he was 60 when he died in 1816. So there's I don't know if he was a patriot or what, or whether he migrated or immigrated here from England after the war, or wherever he came from. Imagine he was here because of this huge plantation that's here. And I'm pretty sure that this plantation was probably a fair bit bigger than what it is. You know, just slash cut this stuff, slash cut and put these trees. You know, the trees came up in age. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, full of cotton and straw bales and just whatever it is.